Welcome to episode 6 of the Trade Rewind. On this episode, we take you through the journey of two future superstars. One, a once-in-a-generation athlete from Virginia whose game rewrote what was possible at his position. The other, a Texas workhorse who was doubted, repositioned, and overlooked until he forced the football world to pay attention. Hope you enjoy. Alrighty, welcome in. Here we go. Today I got two players, really. Same trade, two players. It's a swap. All right. And I'm going to walk you through these guys, their entire life, basically. See how long it takes you to get it. I'm in my head, I'm like, I don't know. Once you get one, you'll for sure know the other one, or vice versa. We'll see. I know
It's just a 1-for-1 trade.
it there are more picks involved, but they all end up being irrelevant. So it'll be interesting. Once we get the teams, I know you're going to know who it is. So I had to make sure I had a big lead up, you know?
We had a couple of trades where we had to bring out whiteboards and really, just to keep track of. It's nice. We'll get a single, 1-for-1, a simple trade that we could really dissect.
Yeah, we'll see if the whiteboard one actually makes it to production or not. Might have to cut it.
All right, here we go. I'm locked in.
Here we go. All right. We're going to start off in the east end of Newport News, Virginia. That's where this guy grew up. If you don't know Newport News, Virginia, there are some legends from there. Specifically, Mike Tomlin's from there. I don't know if he played at all, but as a coach, obviously, we know Tomlin. The fascinating one is Allen Iverson,
Really?
who they say was like top quarterback in the country.
Yeah, they say he was a big time quarterback.
Yeah, so AI's from there, and Tomlin and this guy.
Russell Wilson's from Virginia.
Yeah, there's other guys from Virginia, but like specifically Newport News.
From Newport.
Yeah.
For News.
So anyways, this guy, he grew up in the housing projects. He said he's basically like, this is one of the most violent places to grow up. I was looking it up. It is very violent, above average. It's not crazy levels on the national scale, but he said he saw people getting shot frequently. He saw people walking around with guns, drugs, and like a lot of these kinds of areas, sports were viewed as the way for people to get out. Like when he was a kid, he would go fishing, even if there was nothing to fish, because he just needed to get away from the noise sometimes. All right, so his dad is not really in the picture. He's around sometimes, but he has drug problems. He's on the streets. His mom's working long hours. In high school, you'd think, like this guy's going to go on to be one of the most highly touted prospects in NFL history. And in high school, he was second fiddle to Ronald Curry. Have you ever heard of Ronald Curry?
No, I have not.
Ronald Curry was on the other side of town in Hampton, Virginia. He was a two-sport athlete, and he was ranked higher in all the football rankings. He was the MVP of the 1998 McDonald's All-American game, and his primary thing was football.
But he was MVP in the basketball.
In McDonald's All-American, that's the basketball, like, national all-star game. They're saying, all right, these are the top 20 high school basketball players.
Do we have a position in football? What position was?
Quarterback.
He was a QB.
Both these guys are quarterbacks.
Okay.
Curry and the player we're talking about.
Got it.
So
that's the only position in football that I would say you should stay football and not go basketball. Every other position, go basketball.
Yeah.
Better money, longer career.
100%. So this guy, he was so good at football. Ronald Curry was so good at football that the player we're talking about was obsessed with him because he was a crazy athlete, and he was like, this guy Ronald Curry is better than me. Ronald Curry won 3 state football championships and a basketball championship. He is the consensus best team in Virginia high school football history. He went 14-0, outscored opponents 768-83.
Wow.
And in the state championship, they won 51-0 against a team that had been undefeated up until that point.
It's big time.
So our player that we're talking about, he's like,
was below this guy.
He's less than this guy, and he's like, I want to be this guy. That's my dream. And he still is a top player in the nation, but he's always growing up in the shadow. Scouts are coming to Virginia not to watch him. They want to see Ronald Curry. Ronald Curry ends up going to UNC and playing both football and basketball. He didn't really too much in the basketball world, and in football, he ends up making it to the NFL, but as a wide receiver.
All right, talk about an athlete. Quarterback, wide receiver,
Insane athlete.
basketball.
When they're doing recruiting, this guy's high school coach, the player we're talking about, he was like, "We're colleges are only allowed to come here if you're not recruiting Ronald Curry. We don't, because this guy's he's been in his shadow for long enough, and he's not going to be in his shadow anymore when he gets to college. Like enough's enough. So if you're recruiting Ronald Curry, don't even talk to us." So whatever the team that comes, they're in Virginia. The team that agrees is Virginia Tech. I guess they're like, we're out. We're not getting Ronald Curry. We're fine. And Syracuse is the other one. So this player, he goes to visit Syracuse. And do you know the starting quarterback at Syracuse at the time was?
What year is this? Around what time?
Like 97-ish.
No, I don't.
Donovan McNabb.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting you to know that. Donovan McNabb is the quarterback at Syracuse at the time. And so they're like, oh, like we'll have McNabb show this guy around. He's also a quarterback. They'll have a great time together. And they do, but almost too good of a time. He was like, McNabb, he's built this whole thing at Syracuse, and I want to do that myself. I don't want to just, all right, sit behind McNabb for a year and then just continue it. I want to go somewhere and do my own thing. So he ends up going to Virginia Tech to play. All right. He gets to Virginia Tech, and one of the other deals that him and his college coach had agreed on is that since he was a really raw athlete at quarterback, they wanted him to have a year to redshirt, which I feel like you never see nowadays. That was part of their process. They were like, we're only going to come if you don't recruit Ronald Curry and you let me redshirt freshman year. Like who wants to redshirt?
It's interesting. I think you still see it with the quarterback position. Like that's the one that like you do redshirt because it takes time to adjust to the college and to like, defenses and playbook and just understanding how to run an offense.
And
But
they
definitely
want it.
less and less.
They want it. They want a redshirt.
Well, I don't know if they want to, but their coaches want them to.
Okay, so it's interesting. Whatever it may be, he was like, I want a redshirt. He spends the redshirt season. He's coming from the project in Newport News. Now he's at Virginia Tech. His whole life is like football. It's 3 meals a day. He's working out. He ends up putting on 20 pounds of muscle. He gets bigger, faster, stronger, and then he's unleashed on college football. Do you have any early guesses on who it might be?
Is he a lefty?
He is a lefty.
This is Vick.
This is Vick.
Immediately, I was thinking Vick.
I mean, athletic quarterbacks. There weren't so many of them.
That is true. I don't know why, but I was thinking when you mentioned Virginia Tech, that was my first thought was Vick. So I in the back of my mind, I guess I knew he was Virginia Tech guy.
He is the quarterback from Virginia Tech that you would think of. So he redshirts his freshman year, but the next year he's still considered a redshirt freshman. As a redshirt freshman, they go 11-0, third in Heisman voting, SB top college player of the year, first ever Archie Griffin Award as college football MVP, Big East offensive player of the year. They end up losing in the national championship. They rallied from down 21 to take the lead, and then they end up losing. 1,800 passing yards, 12 passing touchdowns, 600 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns.
That seems like I'm a little surprised. You would think you'd have a lot more rushing.
I was thinking the same thing. Not necessarily rushing. I thought on both ends. Because if you look at the time at other quarterbacks who are like in the Heisman conversation, I was looking at like Breeze is like around the same time, and his stats are like way better. But
Probably threw 40 touchdowns.
something insane. It was like air raid offense. He was at Purdue, just like
Well, we do need to remember that, in the 90s, it's a very different game.
yeah. It was viewed as like system.
Like Joe Burrow had 52 touchdowns in his Heisman year or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's a very different time. What did you say? What did Vick have? 12?
12 passing touchdowns,
Like that.
20 total touchdowns though.
8 rushing, 12 passing. Right.
And I think when you watch him, you watch his highlights, they are insane.
I mean, is there a
always.
more exciting guy to watch maybe ever? He was one of the most exciting football players ever.
It's him and Lamar. Those are the two that come
And it's
to mind.
funny that Allen Iverson came up because like the way Allen Iverson was for basketball, it's so similar to what Vick was for football. Like just one of the most like when you talk about, like, Allen Iverson, some people say, is pound for pound the best of all time, as in, like, just he was, like, 180
Without a question.
and just so skilled, and Michael Vick was one of the most talented and skilled and exciting players, to ever play on the football field.
Yeah, he was awesome to watch. I really enjoyed just, like, watching his highlights, all of that. His We'll move on to his sophomore season. He misses a couple games with an injury, they lose a game because he's injured. His statistics are, like, pretty similar, but he's the consensus number 1 overall draft pick because it's just, like, no one's ever seen him before, like you were saying. It's like, what what do we do with this guy? People's imaginations, I'm sure, are the GMs and coaches are just like, we can do anything with this guy. Like, he's a running back. Think about it. You literally you can't just play man to man defense and leave him. You know,
Right,
it's a death switch.
yeah, if you
It's
don't
a
have a
death sentence.
spy, he's
Yeah,
running.
and whatever you think about Lamar, like you can just do so much with these kinds of players. So that's after his sophomore season. He's consensus number 1 pick. Should I go to the draft? Should I stay? Whatever. I don't think it was too hard for him to decide that. He basically said he went back to his hometown, to Newport News, and he saw where his family was living, and he was like, there's no excuse for me not to go to the draft.
Right, that makes sense.
Which is also crazy at the time. Like, these guys, there was so much pressure to leave college, which we don't see anymore because you can be getting paid $1 million to be in college. Like, you already moved your mom out of that house.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even back then, there was some suitcases of cash coming in, but
Sure.
absolutely, when you're, looking in the face of life-changing money and, changing your family's lives, it's very hard to be like, "Let's go back to college where, we have to pay the coach back if he gave us food." Like,
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah. So he's consensus first overall pick. This is the craziest part of his early life story to me. The last game he played in college was in January. His pro day, he didn't do anything at the combine. His pro day was in March. He said at that point, he's basically like so high on himself as a player. All he did was eat fast food and he didn't exercise once from January to March. So
Wow.
2 to 3 months. And at his pro day, he ran a 4.3340.
4.3?
4.3340.
Wow.
For context, if you don't know, the record for a 40-yard dash, I think now is 4.20 or 4.22. If a wide receiver runs a 4.33, they're considered a speedster.
If a
A
wide
quarterback,
receiver, running back, corner, any position you run 4.33, you're a speedster. A speedster quarterback is like a 4.9.
yeah, a quarterback running a 4.33 is unheard of. Objectively unheard of. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if this is an official time. If it is, it would be the fastest time ever for,
Right, I guess because he didn't go to the combine, it's not an official time.
yeah, and like Lamar didn't run either. So, anyways, we're gonna move on to the next player now. Okay, you ready? That's player number 1. You got it, Michael Vick. Player number 2. Here we go. Running back from Texas. Okay. His family, we're gonna skip straight to high school. He grew up in Waco, Texas. His family was back and forth. Like his grandma lived in Marlin or something, Marlin, Texas. They were back and forth between Waco, Texas and Marlin, Texas. As a freshman in high school, his mom was like, we got to go to Marlin, Texas. They go to Marlin. At Marlin, they're like, this is the guy. We love this guy. Like, he's getting free drinks in the cafeteria, extra juice boxes. This guy's just dominating. And he's playing running back, which will ultimately be his position. Then he comes back to Waco for his sophomore year in high school. And when he gets there, the coach is like, "Oh, what position do you play?" And he's like, "I play running back and I play safety." And the coach is like, "All right, well, we got running backs and safety, so you're not playing that here." And he's like,
Wow.
he was playing running back and dominating in Marlin, and now he's in Waco, and he's like, "Nah, you're gonna play fullback and linebacker." And he's not such a big guy. So he goes to his mom and he's like, "Mom, I'm done with this. Like, I'm quitting." And she's like, "You better not freaking quit. Like, you're playing whatever it is. You made a commitment. You have to." So he plays fullback and linebacker for 10th and 11th grade. Then his mom tells him, hey, I got to move to Dallas. I got a job in Dallas. We're moving to Dallas. And he's like, Mom, if we move to Dallas, like, I have no shot. I'm just meaning to school, start over. Like, this is, like I said, we're talking like late 90s here. They're not like, you don't know who this random high schooler is. Like,
Right.
he's like, I have literally no chance if you move me. You have to let me stay.
And he just spent 2 years, on the roster. Like, this senior year is his chance, I'd assume.
Right. And also, the coach said to him before senior year, he's like, you did everything I asked of you and you made it. It's you. You're the running back. Senior year, it's all you. You're going to shine. And his mom's like, we got to go. And he's like, if you let me stay, I promise you, I will get a scholarship. And she's like, you know what? Fine. I'm going to Dallas. Like, you stay with your friend for the year, whatever. They figured something out. And he ends up staying. He rushes for 2,500 yards and 39 touchdowns. Wow. Which is insane, obviously. His first game of senior year, TCU comes to watch him, and he has 6 touchdowns. And they're like, we need this guy. Offer him right on the spot. And he didn't have a lot of offers because he wasn't playing running back until senior year.
Right.
So he's like, oh, I'm going to TCU.
You got to take it right now.
Also, he was just like, these guys are the first ones to believe in me. They're pushing the hardest. So he agrees, and he goes to TCU. A really good story is that at one point, and this kind of like gave me chills reading, they don't have the whole letter anywhere, but they have part of it. At one point in his senior year, his mom calls him, and she can tell that he's drunk. And she's like, do I have to come down there and get you? Like, you're supposed to be whatever. You're supposed to be getting a scholarship, whatever. And he feels so guilty the next day. He writes her a letter. And he's like, Ma, you sacrificed so much for me. And I'm going to go to college one day. And I'm going to go to the NFL one day. And I'm going to take care of you one day. And one day, you're going to be the proudest mom in the world.
Love that.
And it all comes true, which is insane. So he has this insane senior season. He's going to TCU. In the All-Star game, he plays with Drew Brees, who's also a state All-Star for Texas, which is kind of cool. Drew Brees ends up going to Purdue, as we said earlier. Okay. Any guesses yet?
I've got one person in my head, but I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Do we have a team? Maybe when I hear team, that will break some things open for me.
I got TCU.
TCU, but I haven't heard an NFL team yet.
Yeah, like I said, once you go to the NFL team, you'll definitely have it. Okay. As a freshman and sophomore,
Is he an all-time running back?
these guys, they both, it's Vick and this guy, they're both epic. But wait, you'll tell me later. Give the listeners some time also to stew on it. And once you know it, you'll know it. He doesn't play much as a freshman or a sophomore, and they go 1-10 and 6-5. Those seasons, whatever, like not, early years in college running back, not getting a lot of time. After his freshman year, the coaching staff is like, maybe we should move this guy to safety. Like, he's a good athlete, maybe for the best. Thank God they do not move him to safety because he really would have harmed all of us. And
This guy, I mean,
When we got to
they're trying to put him
experience.
at fullback, linebacker, safety. Like, let him play running back.
good athlete. At one point around his sophomore season, he gets arrested for weed because he pulled up to a party with his friends, and his friends brought other friends, and one of them had weed. They come in, they arrest everyone, and he's like, the coach is like, yo, like, come on. And he's like, I promise, like, I didn't do anything. You can test me. They go up, they test him, he's clean. The coach is like, all right, I'm happy that, like, you weren't smoking any weed, but you gotta stop hanging around those guys.
Can't be getting arrested.
Yeah, so I think that was a big change for him, and he gets it together. Junior year, goes nuclear. 1,850 rushing yards, leads the nation, 18 touchdowns, 6.9 yards per carry. One game, 400 yards and 6 touchdowns in one of his games against UTEP,
Wow.
which I think was the record until 2014. P. Ryan had 427 and Melvin Gordon had 408 in a game. Both insane. So after junior year, he's like, all right, let me test the waters. Let me go to the NFL draft. And they're like, yeah, you're a third rounder. And he's like, I just led the league in rushing. How am I a third rounder? I led the nation. And basically they're like, well, you didn't do much receiving. So I don't know. We're not sure. He has 15 running backs. Also, TCU is a small school. So there's 15 running backs ranked ahead of him. He basically takes all the notes. He hangs them around his room. And he's like, I'm gonna show these guys. This guy's like an all-time.
That's real bulletin board stuff. That's putting it up in your room. That's real. That's the epitome of bulletin board material right there.
Yeah. It was really interesting to me, the the juxtaposition between Michael Vick and this guy. Like, Vic ends up, I mean, it sounds like in college he was working really hard early on, but then when he gets to the NFL, he kinda is like, "Alright, like, I don't have to try anymore." And this guy was the complete opposite, like, he was all dog, like, "I'm just gonna work and work, no one will work harder than me." They say that when he was already in the NFL, he worked out with Reggie Bush once, who was still at USC, he was, like, a junior at USC, and Reggie's like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna work out with you." They work out together. For context, if you don't know who Reggie Bush is, he's one of the greatest, he's probably, I don't know, he's one of the greatest college running backs of all time, and he had a very good NFL career.
For more context, if you don't know who Reggie Bush is, you're probably on the wrong podcast.
Um, anyways, Reggie Bush is working out with him. He said he makes it like 15 minutes, and Reggie's like, "Sorry, like I gotta take a break." He goes out, and this guy who we're talking about follows him. Reggie's just vomiting all over the place.
Wow.
And he said, Reggie told him, "I didn't realize what it takes to be the best until like now."
I love hearing these stories of these, great athletes and their workouts and their work, their work ethic. It's like Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald like is bringing Jared Verse for a workout, and Jared Verse is like an all pro and can't make it through the workout.
And Aaron Donald was
He
retired
was
at the time.
retired. Like these guys, some of them, like when you hear the stories, are like, oh, that's why this guy was that good.
Especially when you have guys who are like undersized. Like Aaron Donald was an undersized guy, and you're like, "How is this guy so good?" That's why.
Yeah, and not the last thing I'll say on Aaron Donald, because we could talk about him for hours. They told him his arms were too short. They're like, he dominated college, whatever, he's a great player, but you know what? His arms aren't long enough, so we're not gonna take him. It's just crazy to think about, and hearing those things are what makes guys like him work so hard, giving him that bulletin board material.
That stuff always gets me. Oh, his arms are too short, or his hands are too small. You know.
Right, like, hey, this guy passed for 7,000 yards in college, but, he's 6'3" and not 6'5", or his arms are 6.5 inches or 8.5 and not 9. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, he showed production.
Yeah, there's like imaginary lines. You know. I think there's obviously some data to back it up, but there always is. You know, Drew Brees is a good example of someone who was like, "Oh, he's just too small. Like he's 5'11", wherever he was. He's too short. He's not gonna be able to play." And yeah, you know, he did sometimes throw the ball off the head of the offensive lineman, but he
But,
also,
I mean, I notice it a lot in the 40-yard, right? Your times, your 40 time. It's such a big deal, and a receiver will run like a 4.5, and it'll be like, this disqualifies him, and this makes him like, drop to the second round. And it's like that 0.1 second doesn't change between you're running a straight line. When you're a receiver and you're running routes, it's way more important how you get in and out of your breaks and how you change direction than running a straight line. And a guy like Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup, and there's like certain guys who they don't have the quickest 40 time, but they're elite route runners. And that's so much more important. I think the draft combine and all that is sometimes they just care about the wrong things.
yeah, and the opposite is true too. If you run a 4.2,
That doesn't mean you're a good receiver.
but you're a guaranteed first round pick.
It's unbelievable. Like you could have a guy who didn't have great numbers in college, doesn't have great hands, but he ran a 4.2. Everyone wants him.
Yeah, whatever. Like I said, for another time. All right.
One
Anyways,
day we'll have to just talk at our I'll have to vent my anger about just pre-draft combine stuff.
all the gripes with the NFL draft
Yes,
process.
it's ridiculous. Don't even get me started on quarterbacks. They don't know how to no, the Jets can't find a quarterback for their life.
Jets can't find anything.
Yeah.
I digress. Um, okay, fine. So we're up to his senior year now, right? Junior, they're like, "You be a third rounder."
He decides to come back.
He's like, "I'm going back." Senior explodes. 2,158 yards rushing, 22 touchdowns. He did not have a game with less than 100 yards and a touchdown. Every single game, he had at least 100 yards and a touchdown.
Wow.
Insanity.
Was he in Heisman talks?
He was invited to the Heisman presentation. He finished fourth his senior year. All right, so, and at TCU, which was considered a smaller school at the time. Big time player. Here we go. You ready? I'm going to read you these two scouting reports for each player for the NFL. So the first one is Vick. You already got him. Has good arm strength, but needs to refine his throwing mechanics, as he is not that quick to load and reload his delivery. Career notes. One of the most exciting players in college football, gutsy performer. Despite only playing 2 seasons, he's the second quarterback in school history to rush for over 1,000 yards in a career, ranked 7th all-time in passing. Also, like, he played in the playoffs. They say reminds him of Donovan McNabb. All right. I don't know. I mean, it's probably hard
A
for
little
Vick.
a little racist. Donovan McNabb, he wasn't very mobile. So he was mobile, but not like thick. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, but who else are you gonna compare him to?
I guess that's the point is that, maybe Steve Young? I mean, I guess the point is that there wasn't anyone to compare to, that
Yeah,
he's the one that everyone now gets compared to.
right. Yeah, exactly. All right, player number 2. You have a guess yet?
I could be completely off. I was thinking maybe LaDainian Tomlinson?
You got it.
Wow, okay.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
That was my first thought was LT.
Yeah. So we'll get more into LaDainian Tomlinson and him being awesome. So this is LT.
LT.
Willing
Wow.
blocker, but not one that can who can rock the defender back. Shows strength breaking low tackles, but does not have that quick first step to avoid, nor does he use his power to move the pile. Reminds me of Philadelphia's Deuce Staley, who is a mediocre running back on the Eagles, who was coming off a season where he had 68 yards per game and 5 catches. This is my favorite part. Gazing into the crystal ball about LT. Once he adjusts to running from a pro set instead of a veer offense, watch him grow into a very effective back. Definitely starting material, but he has enough to only garner all pro consideration eventually. But this is no franchise back here, folks. His numbers are very impressive, but he's a product of the team system. Too bad too many general managers are desperate for a running back as he'll go higher than his stock dictates.
Wow.
Brutal.
Listen, I'll say this, when you're a guy who does that kind of draft analysis, like, you kinda have to take swings, and there's always receipts.
Yeah. Let's
I'm
get to
ready.
the draft. You ready? So the Chargers have the first overall pick. And your initial thought, why would we trade the first overall pick? Michael Vick. Michael Vick is available to us. We can get Michael Vick. And they're like, no, we want to trade it. Any idea why? What there is there? Oh, we couldn't come to an agreement on bonus. What's the real reason?
They already had their guy.
I'll give you a hint. 2 years ago, or maybe, yeah, I think it was 2 seasons ago, Peyton Manning was the first pick of the draft, and the Chargers drafted number 2.
And they took, Leaf.
And they took Ryan Leaf, and they got burned. And he was also Ryan Leaf at the time was drafted to pick after Peyton Manning, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's the better talent. Like Peyton's more put together, but Ryan Leaf's the better talent, and he will have a better NFL career." There's all this talk. The Chargers are like, "Oh, we're so glad we got Ryan Leaf. Who even wants Peyton Manning?" Ryan Leaf was off the Chargers after 3 seasons, and they had to pay his $13 million guarantees.
So they were just so jaded from Ryan Leaf.
Basically, they were like, "You know what? We can't." I mean, they were lying to themselves. They were like, "Oh, if we get a running back or an offensive lineman, then we can win now." I mean, maybe they actually believed it, maybe they didn't. But it seems like the real issue here was they're like, we're not spending $14 million on another quarterback and getting screwed. For context, Vic ended up getting $15 million from the Falcons, which is only $2 million 2 years later. So it kind of makes sense. And David Carr, a season later, got $14 million. So it's not like Vic, they were saying, oh, they're just unrealistic. We couldn't meet it. Seems like they were asking for a reasonable amount. And the Chargers were like, we can't do this. So the day before the draft, they finally trade this pick. And they trade it for the 5th overall pick. The Falcons have the 5th overall pick, and they trade it to the Chargers for the 1st overall pick. There's some other players. We'll run through them quickly. The trade ends up being Vick for Tim Dwight, who was a wide receiver at the time, a 2nd rounder, which turns into Rasheed Caldwell, a 3rd rounder, which turns into Tay Cody, and the 5th overall pick of the draft, which turns into LaDainian Tomlinson. So basically, all those players, Tay Cody was out of the league in 3 years. Rasheed Caldwell, he played 6 seasons total, 4 with the Chargers. His best was his 5th with the Patriots, but he didn't do anything for the Chargers. Tim Dwight, also 4 seasons on the Chargers, didn't do much. So it ends up being essentially an LT for Michael Vick swap. The only other thing that's worth mentioning is that because they didn't draft Vick first overall, they were still looking for a quarterback in the 2nd round. And who's on the board in the second round to the Chargers in 2001?
Phil Rivers. No. Who is it?
Drew Brees.
Oh, Drew Brees, and then Drew Brees gets traded for
Not even traded, though Drew Brees we'll get to in a little bit.
yeah.
But Drew Brees also, who is friendly with LaDainian Tomlinson. They went to they grew up in Texas together, not together, but they played in that game together. They were at the Heisman thing together. And they basically made a pact, the two of them. They're like, we're going to bring a championship to San Diego.
Love that.
Didn't age so well, but
Not age well, but it's
it was-
okay.
it is beautiful. So the reaction at the time is basically like, the Chargers got themselves into this hole where they had to make the trade. And since they got themselves into the hole, like, it's a fine trade. I don't think people were like, oh, great move trading Michael Vick. But, the owners have basically decided that it had to happen. They did all these things, right? They're like, we're not going to do the signing bonus.
It's interesting. I don't think you'd get away with that nowadays. If you were in need of a quarterback and traded the number 1 overall pick, who was a quarterback, like, even if it worked out, like, you'd get killed in the media. Just like,
Yeah.
imagine Heisman quarterback, most exciting player in college football. We need a quarterback, and we're gonna trade away and pick a running back. Like, it's unheard of. I don't think it would be able to even happen today.
Yeah. They signed Doug Flutie also before the season. So that they would have been like, oh, we got Doug Flutie now. We gave him 2 years
I just think
guaranteed.
right. It is also, running back, like, a running back was a little more important back then. Like, now, right, no one's taking running backs that high in the draft.
Yeah. So whatever. They got away with it. And I don't know, kind of whatever. We'll get to the trade grades a little bit later. Let's talk careers. Okay. We all know Michael Vick. On the Falcons, if you watch his Falcons highlights, they are
Unbelievable.
insane. Like we were saying before, just things you've never seen before. Now Lamar Jackson is the only comp. But the other thing with Vic is that Lamar is like very skinny and he doesn't, he never gets hit straight on. Vic was shifty, but he was also trying to run guys over.
Yeah, I mean, Vic, he changed the game.
Yeah, that was one of the knocks against him. Like, he gets hurt too much, whatever. So his career on the Falcons, he doesn't play his rookie season. He's on the Falcons for 6 seasons. He gets bounced in the second and third round. He was a good quarterback statistically. It didn't really translate to the playoffs. He was the first quarterback to eclipse 1,000 rushing yards. The big elephant in the room is that his whole life and career gets marred because after his 6th season, he gets arrested for dogfighting. We're not going to get all the way into it, but he was guilty. He lied to Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL at the time, and told him he was innocent. He lied to his lawyers and told them he was innocent. Eventually, he ends up having to go to prison for 2 years. They never thought he was going to play in the NFL again. He actually reforms in prison, and I think I'm sure people come after me for this, but it seems like he actually reformed and turned into a good guy. Tony Dungy, who was a coach at the time, he met with him in prison, and he was like trying to get him back in. He talked to Goodell. After he gets out of prison, he ends up getting back into the league. He signs with the Eagles.
He had a couple of good seasons there.
Yeah, and Donovan McNabb is the quarterback at the time. McNabb also told them, like, yeah, sign Vic. Like, I'm cool with it. Kevin Cobb was a 2nd-round pick. He was also there. And McNabb, they decide, Andy Reid's the coach at the time, and they were like, you know what? McNabb plays the first season, and Vic said he didn't want to play his first year. He was like, I'm not ready. I'm not in football shape. I haven't been able to get a good workout in. So he gets in football shape.
You'd think that's all he'd be doing in prison is working out.
He said, so it's funny, I listened to his entire autobiography, and he said basically like he tried, but he couldn't because he didn't have the right, like the kinds of workouts he was doing, like he just needed more than the prison had essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they have this great, workout facilities.
Yeah, obviously. So after his first year on the Eagles, they're like, you know what? We have enough in the quarterback room. We don't need McNabb anymore. He ends up going to the Commanders, and Kevin Cobb is announced as the starter. But he gets injured really early. Vic takes over. That's his like, it's actually, Vic on the Eagles was almost more exciting because it was the redemption arc. And he comes out and he has
Right.
these magical moments, the 6 touchdowns on Monday Night Football against the Redskins, miracles in the Meadowland. I mean, it was just like he went from being voted the most unpopular athlete in the US to receiving the most fan votes for the Pro Bowl. He
Wow.
completely turned around his image, his career. That's really it for him.
And if you watch, I mean, also just if you watch, he was a more mature quarterback too, as in he wasn't, bailing on the pocket so early anymore. He would, go through his reads. He was a smarter football player.
He was more mature in all ways. He was like watching film. This was crazy about his time in Atlanta. He didn't watch any film. I
Unbelievable.
Jim Mora was his coach, and after the Falcons, Mora becomes an analyst for NFL Network. And they have, after Vick gets out of prison, they have a sit down with Vick. And so who do they have to do it? Oh, well, one of our analysts is Jim Mora, his ex-coach. Obviously, he should do it. And this sit down, you watch the interview, it turns from like an interview to just like real life. Like these guys are like the cameras are gone. They're somewhere else. Like, it's just the two of them sitting in the room. And Mora's like, what else could I have done? Like
Wow.
how didn't I notice? Like how could I have helped you? And Vic's like, there's nothing you could do. I was just a disaster. I had to go through this. The only way for me getting out of it was to go through it and go to prison. And Mora's like, we used to give out DVDs of film. What happened to the DVDs? And Vic's like,
He has no clue.
he's like, they just piled up. They're like in a pile somewhere. And Mora's like, so you're telling me if I wrote you a check for $1 million and stuck it in one of the DVDs, and Vic's like, it would still be there today.
Wow.
Hilarious story.
That's great. That's like a draft day. You stick $100 bill at the back of the playbook.
Yeah, see if they actually look. It's awesome. Um, okay, so that's Vic. Any other notes on Vic?
I mean, change the game. Amazing career. I guess the question is he a Hall of Famer? I think he has to be.
Yeah, I think just the story is too good. Like if he would have played his whole career, he probably would have been a Hall of Famer because I mean, maybe not. Maybe it just would have been like, no, he never would have been able to figure it out. He never would have tried hard enough. But because of the getting kicked out and then the redemption,
When you talk about career, that's like a Hall of Fame career. The storyline, the story arc.
yeah, eventually I assume he'll make it in.
Right.
All right, let's move on to LT. So, like I said, they didn't draft a quarterback. They take Drew Brees, and they're like, we're gonna bring a Super Bowl home. LT was like, I'm happy that I ended up going fifth to the worst team in the NFL because when I got to TCU, they were 1-10. I'm used to it. It's fine. Put me on a bad team. He has over 1,100 rushing yards and 50 receptions in his rookie season, and all of the rest of his first 8 seasons.
Wow. I mean, and back then also running backs were not like it wasn't so common that running backs were great receivers.
And that's the craziest part. That was the knock on him. True
That
the
he
year.
couldn't catch.
He couldn't catch. And senior year, he still didn't catch. And they were like, we kind of saw on the Senior Bowl that it seems like the guy can catch. And the Chargers are just like, we're just going to pepper this guy with targets. You don't see the only other guys you see with like this kind of usage are Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
Like what he was doing, he had a season with 1,600 yards and 100 receptions. He won the MVP as a running back, which obviously unheard of. 1,800 rush yards, 500 receiving yards, 50 catches, 31 touchdowns.
Unbelievable. I mean, he was like the original fantasy cheat code. Like he was winning people their fantasy championships.
Insane. Yeah, I have in his accolades, I have written number 1 on ESPN's top fantasy football players ever,
Wow.
and best fantasy football season ever for any player when he had that 31 touchdown season. It's like he's better than every quarterback of all time.
Wow.
And he's better than every running back by like 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, he was unbelievable. His touchdown dance was iconic. Who didn't, do that, running in the end zone at recess, do the little flip, the little
The
stuff.
finger roll.
Yeah.
The finger roll, because he said he used to play basketball. And in basketball, the first thing you learn, the easiest thing to do is to make a layup, hopefully. And so he was saying only if he went in standing up. If he got into the end zone standing up, it was easy, like a finger roll. So he would do a finger roll for his
That's great.
celebration. So his second season in the NFL, they hire Marty Schottenheimer, and this guy, LT loves him. He's like a father figure to him, and they're great. But then Breeze gets injured at the end of his 5th year, his last year on his rookie contract. He tears his shoulder and his right arm. And the Chargers are like, we're not re-signing you because they drafted Phillip Rivers a couple years earlier. And I couldn't really get a good answer for why on earth you would draft a quarterback in the first round if you have Drew Brees in your quarterback room. And the answer basically is like they didn't trust him
I
enough.
didn't believe in him yet.
And we're looking at it in hindsight and we're like, you had Drew Brees.
Yeah.
But whatever. So they have Rivers. Rivers' first season, they go 14-2, and they're the number 1 seed in the AFC. In the divisional round, they're playing against the Patriots. And they're giving it to the Patriots. And they're up 8 in the fourth quarter, and the Patriots are driving. And Brady throws a pick. There's 5 minutes left in the game. Brady throws a pick, and everyone on the Chargers sideline is like, get down, get down. Guy doesn't get down, runs straight into a wide receiver. Wide receiver strips it from him. Patriots recover, get a first down, get the 2-point conversion, go on to win the game. After that game, and also crazy, they fire Schottenheimer, who just came off a 14-2 season.
Wow.
And they're like, no, he can't win. And LT says to this day, like, if you kept Marty, we would have won the Super Bowl 100%. He loved him. And then it seems like after that point, and they hire the new coach, LT has, he has that one crazy season, and then they just started utilizing him less and less.
They added Darren Sproles. Started throwing at Darren Sproles a little.
Yeah, they added some other guys to the mix, and that's kind of his career. He goes to the Jets for a couple of years.
He was great on the Jets.
Yeah, he was like exactly what they needed. It was only for 2 years, and the second year he didn't do anything. But the first year, they went to the AFC Championship, and he played well. I think he had 2 touchdowns in the divisional round.
That year, their run game was unbelievable. It was Mark Sanchez. They were like, we're not throwing. We're going to ground and pound. That was Rex Ryan. All he would say is ground and pound, ground and pound. And that's what they did. And LT and trying to think, it was a Thomas Green, Sean Green. They had another running back, but that was
Thomas Jones, maybe?
Thomas Jones. I'm mixing up a couple of my Jets names, but that run game was awesome. And that was, my maybe favorite season as a fan, watching LT and the Jets go make a run.
Yeah, I feel like the Jets are just where all these good players go to die. Favre went there, or Decker went there.
Listen, they don't come there when they're in their prime, so we'll take them later.
If they did come in there in their prime, we wouldn't know their names.
That could be true.
Anyways, Brees, the high school buddy, ends up going on to win the Super Bowl in the 2009 to 2010 season. So he kind of fulfills his end. LT's career accolades: 7th on the all-time rushing list, 2nd all-time in rushing touchdowns, 3rd all-time in receptions for a running back, but McCaffrey's going to pass him in like a week. So when this comes out, McCaffrey will probably be 3rd. 12th all-time in receiving yards for a running back. Like I said before, number 1 fantasy football player of all time, and has the best single fantasy football season of all time.
When you think of him, the only thing you think is first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a straight up Hall of Famer.
So good. Consistent. What running back has 1,100 yards in every single season? And I think out of the first 8 seasons, he only had one under 1,200.
Wow.
Every single year, this guy was healthy enough. And it happens to be at the end of his career, he gets, they start dragging him through the mud. That's why I went to the Jets. Oh, he was getting injured in the playoffs. There was a big drama where Phillip Rivers played through a torn ACL, and LT tried giving his knee a go, and the Patriots were going after him on the first play. They hit his knee, and he came out of the game, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's a bum." Rivers is playing through the injury, and it's like, yeah, Phillip Rivers is a quarterback who doesn't move, as we're seeing firsthand, as he's 44-year-old, 350 pounds, and LT is a running back who relies on his cuts and everything.
Yeah, it's that's what's crazy about LT is that he actually had a pretty long career for a position that at that time people weren't having long careers.
At this time too.
Yeah, still now.
Besides for a few. My favorite thing, you gotta watch this clip. He went on this podcast. Ryan Clark's one of the guys on it. Ryan Clark was basically like, the last time you saw me, you were stiff arming my face into the ground on a walk-off touchdown or overtime.
Wow.
It's an awesome play. It's it's overtime and they hand it off. They're playing against the Redskins, and Clark comes up and LT's like, yeah, I saw you kind of late, and I just I moved, I kind of juked to the right and put my hand out, and he just throws his face into the ground and walk-off touchdown.
He's an all-time YouTube guy. When you pass him, and if you're scrolling YouTube and you see an LT highlights video, you must touch it. You must press on it and watch.
Yeah.
He's that good. It's just so exciting. He was one of the most exciting players of all time. What a trade. I mean, you get two of the most dynamic and exciting players ever.
Yeah, in the same trade, and it's devastating that he never managed to win a Super Bowl, and I was thinking the other day, it's like, there's only so much you can do as a running back, you know?
Yeah, I don't think you really get it held against you as a running back. Like Barry Sanders never even I don't even know I don't think he ever played in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I think he did play in the playoffs, but Barry Sanders was like he also retired young.
Right.
I
But in
mean,
general, like when you're talking running backs, you're never like, well, Adrian Peterson. Oh, well, you know what? He would be the GOAT, but never won a Super Bowl. It's only quarterbacks that Super Bowls.
yeah. Well, we've seen running backs close, like Derrick Henry on the tight ends. He carried them far. Like he was able to basically just Derrick Henry was able to carry the tight ends to the AFC Championship.
Right. But right. And as a running back, it can only help your case. It can't hurt your case, is my point. Like if you bring your team to the Super Bowl, like, wow, you're unbelievable, and that adds to your resume, but no one's like losing their resume. A quarterback, if you don't win a Super Bowl, it really hurts your resume.
Yeah.
Running backs, I don't think it really matters as much.
No. All right. On that note, we gotta
Grade
we
this.
gotta grade this thing. This is an interesting one. It's hard to grade because
So it's
you think about like from Falcons' perspective, they got 6 years of Vick, but they didn't do anything with it.
right, and that's interesting you say that. My first thought was like, well, quarterback versus running back. Quarterback's a more important position, but they didn't get that much. They got 6 years of him, and then he's gone. Meanwhile, LT, you get your all-time running back. It's very difficult. My gut tells me that it's a win. The Chargers won that trade.
To me, it's 100% the Chargers won it because you also have to think of the cost that the toll that Vick took on the Falcons franchise was brutal also. Just like
The way it ended.
the franchise looked bad. He had other things while he was on the team, like he flipped off fans, he was getting suspended. He lied to the owner about the dog fighting thing. He was just like he was bringing people down. He was always a mess. He was talking about in his book other stories of just him just being a disaster.
Right, and I mean, he wasn't watching film, but he clearly wasn't, at that point in his career, a great locker room guy.
No, and he was saying like I did like the owner gave everything he could to me and I just like took it all for granted. Like I could have talked to him about anything. Like he was one of these guys who like knew how to handle success, obviously, and like Arthur Blank. And I just ignored everyone basically.
Right. At the same time, the Chargers won that trade, but you can't be like this was like a blowout win because it's Michael Vick, and he was an icon in Atlanta. He was loved by the fans. He was unbelievable. Like, so even though the Chargers won that trade, he was still so good that even with all the bad stuff, like,
Yeah, not a complete blowout. The Chargers are also a disaster organization, which is probably why they never managed to win a Super Bowl. I mean, the first disastrous move was trading Vick, which ends up in their favor, obviously. But then they draft Breeze, and then they get rid of Breeze, and he goes on to win the Super Bowl, and they get Rivers, and they fire Schottenheimer, and it's like all these things they end up just like shooting themselves in the foot too many times.
yeah,
I think I probably have it. I'll say it's a 6-4.
really that high. I was thinking way lower, like a 4-2. Like, sure, the Chargers did win that trade. They got a Hall of Famer, but I don't think this is like a major crazy blow because of the importance of quarterback to running back.
Yeah, well, I also spent like 12 hours going through Vic's entire audiobook and
You heard a lot of
a
craziness.
football life. I had to hear all these terrible things that he did, you know?
That is true. I mean, definitely, when you're talking about who's a better dude, like
Well, that's not even a
LT
question.
was just such an awesome like locker room person and
Yeah.
teammate leader.
There's an awesome clip like the Patriots after they beat them in the playoffs, like one of them tries celebrating on the logo and LT's just like he's like dapping people up and he like gets over there. He like starts with it. He's like, nah, like you're not partying on our logo.
Yeah. LT will always have, a spot in my heart with that Jets season. That was special.
Yeah.
On his last legs, he gave it everything he had for the Jets.
So the funny thing about that guy, Reshe Caldwell, who was the second round pick that they got in the trade, he ends up going to New England. And so he leaves the Chargers after 4 years. He goes to New England. In that game that I was telling you about, where New England has that crazy play and they
Yeah.
come back, he has two massive plays. One is he catches the touchdown to take the lead. And the second one is like on the Patriots drive where they kick a field goal to win. he also has like a massive gain. So
Wow,
he
and
ends up,
that's someone that they also let go.
well, yeah, they didn't re-sign him, but he wasn't good. I mean, he had a great year on the Patriots. He had like 600 something receiving yards, which is great.
Who doesn't have great years on the Patriots at that point?
And then get cut after the year. The Patriots were like, "We're done with you now." Yeah.
Wow. All right, wow, very, I didn't know, that's something new to me. I didn't know that Michael Vick got traded for LT. I had thought that I didn't know that part about the traded draft pick. It's
Yeah.
a very interesting start to both of their careers.
Their picks the day before the draft changed NFL forever.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to The Trade Rewind. You can find us on social media at The Trade Rewind on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. If you enjoy listening to the show, the best thing you can do for us is to leave us a 5-star on Spotify and share the episode.